All right, let's talk about network security. But I want you to forget all the technical jargon for a minute. Instead, I want you to picture your network as a fortress, a digital fortress. Because honestly, in today's world, that's exactly what you're defending.
Think about it. Any good fortress, it needs impenetrable walls, right? It needs guards who are always watching. And it needs a very, very clear set of rules for who gets in and who stays out. Well, your network is no different. So the big question is, are you really ready to defend it?
So first things first, we have to guard the gates. Every single defense strategy for a fortress starts right here at the main entrance. You've got to control the traffic that's flowing in and out so you can tell who your friends are and who your enemies are.
Let's kick things off with something called ICMP filtering. Now, ICMP, that stands for Internet Control Message Protocol. These are basically the little messengers of your network. They're constantly running around checking if servers are up, or if a path is clear. But here's the catch. Just like in any kingdom, some messengers can be trusted, while others, well, they could be spies, carrying malicious intel right through your front door.
So how in the world do you tell the good messengers from the bad ones? It's actually pretty simple. We let in the ones that are absolutely essential, for diagnosing problems and keeping things running, but we block the others, the ones that aren't really needed for day-to-day operations, because those are the exact ones that attackers love to use to map out your fortress from the outside. And that, right there, is the whole idea behind filtering. And this brings us to the firewall, your ultimate gatekeeper. I want you to imagine every single piece of data, every little messenger, being put on a conveyor belt and inspected one by one before it's allowed through the gates. Absolutely nothing gets in unchecked. So how does this gatekeeper actually work? Well, for starters, it uses something called stateful inspection. That's a fancy way of saying it doesn't just look at one message, it actually remembers the entire conversation. It knows if a message is a legit reply or if it's just something random and weird showing up out of the blue. Second, it keeps a detailed log, kind of like a guest book of everyone who comes and goes. And third, if anything looks even a little bit suspicious, it sounds the alarm. But, just inspecting the messages is only half the battle. Our gatekeeper also needs a really strict rulebook to follow, and that's where access control lists, or ACLs, come into play.
This leads us to one of the most powerful, and I mean powerful, ideas in all of security: deny by default. The mindset here is simple, but it's a total game changer. Instead of trying to keep a massive list of all the bad guys you want to block, you just block everyone by default. The only people who get in are the trusted friends on your exclusive guest list. Think about it. It's so much easier to manage a short list of who's approved than an endless, constantly growing list of who's banned.
Okay, so our gates are secure. Awesome. Now, let's step inside the fortress walls for a minute and look up. We're going to talk about the watchtowers, the critical devices that oversee the entire kingdom.
And in our digital fortress, what are the watchtowers? They're your routers. These things are absolutely critical. They direct all the traffic, they see everything that's going on, and they connect all the different parts of your kingdom. So you can see why if an attacker manages to take over one of these watchtowers, well, they can pretty much see and control everything. So how do we protect them? It's actually pretty straightforward. First, we disable any services on that router that we're not actually using. Think of these as extra unlocked doors and windows on the watchtower, just begging for an intruder to sneak in. We need to board them up. Second, we have to secure the main entrance, the management interface, with the strongest locks we can find. This means using encrypted stuff like SSH, which basically creates a secure secret tunnel for anyone who needs to manage the device.
Now, these watchtowers, they don't just stand there in isolation. They are constantly talking to each other, sharing updates on the best paths for data to travel. And you can bet that this communication channel is a prime target for spies. They would love to feed your watchtowers false information and trick them into rerouting your precious traffic through some really dangerous territory.
We lock down this chatter in two key ways. First, with authentication. Each router has to prove its identity before another one will even listen to it. This makes sure it's a trusted friend and not some imposter. And second, we use filtering. We limit the kind of information they can share and who they're allowed to share it with. This stops bad information from spreading like wildfire across your network.
So we've secured the gates, we've fortified the watchtowers. Are we done? Can we just relax? Not even close. You see, security isn't a project that you finish one day. It is a constant, ongoing duty.
I mean, a real fortress that's just left unattended will eventually fall apart, right? The same is absolutely true for your network. Defense has to be an active process. It requires daily patrols, constant maintenance, and really just a perpetual state of vigilance. And a huge part of that maintenance is keeping your blueprints updated.
the firmware and the software that run all your network devices. That's their fundamental design. Attackers are always studying these blueprints, looking for any little weakness they can exploit. So when a flaw is found, the manufacturer releases a patch, which is basically just an update to the blueprint that fixes that vulnerability.
And that leads to two absolutely crucial practices. The first is patch management. This is the systematic process of applying all those updates to reinforce your walls against known threats. The second is regular security audits. This is like sending your own team of engineers to inspect the walls, actively looking for any new cracks or weaknesses that might have popped up.
And finally, we have the Night Watch. This is your logging and monitoring system. It's the silent guardian that records every single event, every sound, every unusual thing that happens within the fortress walls. Its whole job is to spot trouble before it can escalate into a full-blown crisis. So what are these watchmen looking for exactly? Well, they keep incredibly detailed event logs, a complete record of everything that happens, but they also actively monitor the traffic patterns. See, they know what normal looks like, so when something unusual happens, like a sudden surge in traffic from a weird location, they can spot it immediately.
And there you have it. You secure the gates with firewalls, you harden the watchtowers with solid router security, and you maintain a constant watch with updates and monitoring. This isn't about buying one magic tool. It's about building a complete layered defense where every single part supports the others. That is how you build a fortress that's truly secure. So I'll just leave you with this one question. Take a hard look at your own digital life. Who holds the keys to your fortress? And is it really ready for an attack? Because if there's one thing we know for sure, it's that the attack is definitely coming. Thanks for tuning in.